It's nice to meet you all virtually. And Dr. Carr has been texting me, so he's been with patients today and is going to join us here momentarily. I met Dr. Carr. He's with HSS in West Palm Beach and the Health and Surgical Services, and it's a great facility, in many ways very updated. And I was fortunate enough to be able to work with him on doing some health and wealth presentations, and thought that we might do that for Jessica and Gary and your clients so that you would enjoy his bedside manner. Is very good. Mariner, I'm going to share screens at this point now, and Mariner Wealth Advisors is a registered investment advisory out of Kansas is where the home base is, and I am in Florida. If you work with Jessica and Gary and you're looking to have help in general, a little bit more touch, then that's what you're going to get with Mariner and with me. One of the things that came up with health and wealth in general was how much it's connected. And one of the things that we found over time is that people really are concerned about their money, but they're also concerned about their health in retirement. And most of the people who were questioned in several surveys, you found out that 37% of the people were more concerned about their health, partly because if you don't have good health, there's no point in sort of saving for retirement because you can't really do the things that you were expecting to do. And I've always had a long interest in health and maintenance of health. I was an athletic director a long time ago. I've worked a lot with various doctors in the county and over time. And generally, I'm the person that friends go to when they say, hey, what, you know, this is going on. What should I do about this? I'm pretty well read with regard to medical events. And so I was very interested in the health and wealth overlap, because one of the things that they also found is that people who are stressed about their finances actually have bad health. I mean, it's just constant overlap. People who don't sleep well tend to have bad health, tend to be worried about their finances. It overlaps again. And they end up then taking time out of work. They don't function as well. And then, of course, that affects your ability to make good money. So the overlap and the anxiety and the constant overlap of health and wealth are a big deal. Dr. Carr's business, and one of the things that we were talking about was that with joint health and sleeping and all those issues, that as we age, they become more prevalent. And just being able to sleep properly, just being able to move about your daily, life is one of the issues that Dr. Carr can help with, and it is something that then costs money. So again, we have this overlap. Boomers in general, so again, these are people sort of late 50s and on, are again very concerned with having good health. They want to retire and then they want to go hiking, they want to go traveling, but all of those things require mobility. So it's interesting, I thought, I was kind of fascinated by this slide that literally 81% of retirees are more concerned about their health than being financially secure. So it's as if, these two very much have an impact on each other. And one of the things that we've also found is that to continue to have good health, we have found that there are connections statistically with money. If you have more money and you have good savings and you have good health plans, then you're able to afford the health care that you need, that keeps you healthy, that keeps you going, that keeps you, mentally healthy as well. And again, one of the things that we like to do when we plan with people at Mariner is we like to make sure that we plan for the unpredicted healthcare costs and the problems that can occur in retirement. So across the gamut, if you're not retired, we're working with people who we're planning on what do you need in retirement, whether it's long-term care or whether it's some kind of liability insurance. If you're running a business, you want to make sure that you can continue to make the money that you're making and get to the goal. If you're retired, then you're mostly saying, okay, I have to make sure that I have enough money in the future. And interestingly, health alone, and so this is just the Medicare costs, the additional out-of-pocket costs for vision and dental, costs an additional about $250,000 in retirement. So it's an interesting additional cost that sometimes people aren't thinking about when they're thinking about retiring. They're not thinking about the health cost impact. Another one is sleep and obesity and health are all very related. And again, if you're lying awake at night worrying about your financial planning portfolio, then you're also lying awake at night and not getting the sleep that you need, and therefore not doing the kind of planning that you need to. Interestingly, in the time of COVID here, a lot of people aren't going and getting the appointments that they need to get. They're actually avoiding it. About the only one that I'm hearing is dentistry. I am hearing people do that. And surgeries are beginning again with regard to any kind of major surgery that you had planned, but people are still holding off on minor things that are chronic. So even working with chiropractors and other people that I know in the medical industry, there are a lot of people that just aren't going. They're just not attending. And so that's actually creating a backlog and a problem in general. And it isn't so much the health issue at this point, but it's the COVID that is keeping people away. But it's important to keep up with our health. And one of the things that I'm hoping with Dr. Carr too is that you'll get more educated about some of the things that you can do with regard to your joint health. Because obviously if we can move in retirement, then we can get all the things done that we want to do and enjoy ourselves. Travel being a big one. It's pretty hard to lug a suitcase, get on a plane, push things around, sit the whole time on the plane. All of those things actually require, especially in retirement, modifications, things to make sure that you're comfortable in that process. And at Mariner, again, one of the things that we do is a suite of things that we cover, things that we're looking at, and each of these things can have an impact not only on your finances, but also on your future health care. So again, Mariner is a registered investment advisory company that basically can help you with your financial planning in general for the future, but also manage investments, help you with tax planning, help you with estate planning, help you with insurance planning. And in that insurance planning sleeve, that last column under risk management, we also look at long-term care and Medicare and Social Security and how all of those work together and help you with that planning. So one of the things, again, that's happening with COVID that I thought was interesting here recently is I've had a couple of clients who aren't going back to work or did get laid off of work or are working at home, which is a different state than their company. And each of those presents new problems for them because they either have to report taxes now in a new state because they're working from home instead of where their company is, or they have to go on COBRA because they're off of some kind of insurance, but then they have to figure out how to go back to the same job once they get the job back. And then, of course, long-term care issues are more broad and in the future, but they're being impacted pretty heavily by what's going on with COVID. So because of increased death with regard to COVID in the long-term care facilities, long-term care pricing and long-term care availability is changing. So for example, one of the things that we do at Mariner is we talk about what if we overlap a hybrid policy that includes long-term care, but it's also either a life policy or it's an annuity policy. And that way you're not necessarily just paying for long-term care out of pocket that you may never see those dollars again, but you find that you're able to actually have long-term care if you need it, leveraging those dollars. But if you don't need it, then you get either the life insurance payout or in the other situation, you get the annuity. So in each of these situations, long-term care is changing map based on what's going on with COVID right now. And we're working with clients to help them with that. We have a lot of resources at Mariner. We have a one-pager on medical information and also end-of-life planning that we can get to any of the people on the call today. We have videos on it online. There's an insight section that you can just almost look up any question from my grandkids are going to college, how do I fund a 529, to these more medically oriented questions. And I see that we've got Dr. Carr here, so thank you for getting here. I know you've had a busy morning, and I want to introduce him and turn it over to him.
Perfect. Let me see.
In introducing Dr. Carr, again, I want you to know that he's got a terrific bedside manner. He's got a great slideshow for us. You got into medicine partly because of your father?
Correct. Yes. He was a orthopedic surgeon as well. So that inspired me to go into the field.
right? Also, Dr. Carr, in terms of joint health, you played baseball, right? At one point
I
in time?
did. I did. Yeah. It seems like many moons ago, but yes, through college, I played baseball.
Yeah. Like I was a soccer and tennis player, and I'm still a tennis player, and I played twice this week, and I can feel it in my shoulder. It's like I've got
Oh,
to play.
there you go.
And, you know, I'm always doing yoga and stretch exercises and even working at the computer all the time. So take it away. Tell us what we should be doing with regard to our joint health.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Lisa, for the introduction. It's great to be here with you all again. Sorry that I was running a little late with my clinic this morning, but thankful for the opportunity to speak with everyone here. So as Lisa and I were talking, we just thought it'd be good to kind of initiate a conversation around joint health for COVID-19 and beyond, not only just for the times we're living in now, but a lot of patients of mine, they really worry about, just making sure that that if they are financially savvy and they get to retirement, they're able to do the activities they want to do. They want to make sure that their joints are actually able to do those things. So that's a big, a very important factor for a lot of patients. So I'll be talking about that today and just how to help maximize your joint health for now and the future. So I have no financial disclosures for this talk. In terms of the outlines, we'll talk about some ergonomics in a COVID world, as Lisa was mentioning. A lot more people are working from home or have new office settings. So just talking about how to maximize your ergonomics, or in other words, just the efficiency with which your body is set up to work so that you can minimize stress on your body. We're going to talk about going back to working out. I get a lot of patients asking about when should I work out? When is it safe to go back to working out? How should I work out when I go back? When should I get my achy joint checked out? So a lot of patients will ask me that. What's the difference between just an ache versus a pain? Another thing related but a little different is how do I sleep better? So, sleep obviously has a lot of ties to overall health, mental health, physical health. And so that's something we'll touch on as well. And really just how do I optimize my joint health for the future? So I think that's kind of at the core of a lot of people's goals. We have financial goals and other goals, but we also should have physical goals of what we want to do and what can we do now to set us up for success for those goals. Just like what can I do financially now to set me up for success? What can I do physically to set me up for success in the future? And really just tips for staying healthy during COVID. So that's something we'll also talk about. So ergonomics in a COVID world. So again, a lot of people are working from home or find themselves in makeshift offices. So there's a couple different tips that you can follow. So I'll just kind of start from the top and work down. So the head and neck, you really should try to keep your head vertical, avoid that hunch over position. I'm really bad at that. My wife's always harping at me to stop hunching over and whatnot. It's very easy to do as we focus on our screens, but it is good to keep a vertical neck and have it in line with our shoulders. Really avoid a laptop on a desk. Consider like a laptop riser or an external keyboard mouse so that the laptop is at your level as opposed to having to stoop down to getting to it. So even if you just use some books or shoe boxes to keep your laptop elevated, it can be helpful. Keeping your wrist in a neutral position, avoiding a very bent wrist for a long period of time is also beneficial. And really just ensuring low back support. So it may be more comfortable to slightly lean back, but just making sure that you have good back support, So, a lot of people find that getting a more office grade chair for their house, for their home office can be very beneficial as well. And really just rotate standing and sitting. This is good wherever you work. Take frequent breaks to stretch and walk. I tell patients, try to take 5 or 10 minutes every hour, if possible, or every 2 hours, just to kind of walk, stretch, kind of reset your body's clock, if you will. It can be very helpful in those regards. And really just making sure your office is well lit. That can also just be something in general that can take strain off of your eyes, keep you again from hunching over and maintain that proper posture. And so going back to working out. And so this is also a common question I get in terms of, doc, I'm going back to working out and now something hurts. What should I do? And so really there's 2 scenarios that I see a lot in my clinic. Scenario number 1 is I was super busy before COVID. I didn't have time to work out. I was just so busy, but now I have a lot more time. I'm working part-time or I'm working from home, so I'm not traveling so long and I can easily have some extra time. And now I just want, now I'm jogging again. I'm riding my bike. I'm playing tennis. I picked up a new hobby. So that's one scenario. Scenario number two was that I was actually more sedentary during COVID because all the gyms and the tennis courts and everything else were closed, but now everything's open again. And now it's time to get back after it and time to really go, go back into all my activities. And what I would say is just be cautious with both of these scenarios because they both have certain pitfalls that you need to be mindful of. So definitely just want to keep both of those in mind. So I'm going to kind of walk through both of these scenarios here. So scenario number one, I was really busy before COVID. Now I have a lot more time to work out. I would just say don't make too many changes right away. And really ease yourself back into your new workout routine. So I tell patients, do a little less or take a few extra days off in the beginning. So if you're say, hey, I think I'm just going to go out and jog 2 miles my first time out, maybe just do one, maybe, jog a mile, walk the other one. It seems really easy. It seems very common sense, but we get eager, we get over ambitious. So I would just say, plan to take some extra days off, do a little bit less in the beginning, see how your body's going to react and how sore your body may or may not be before you start making plans to do a lot more with it. And also I would say just pick activities that are lower stress on the body initially, walking before you jog, doing calisthenics like push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, those kind of things before you get into more heavier weightlifting or heavier, high intensity type activities. So if you want to jog 5 miles and that's your goal, if you haven't been jogging, then maybe walk 5 miles and then you can work into jogging. So again, it's a lot of common sense, but it's, easy to get a big appetite for working out and to do that. But our bodies are very quick to remind ourselves that we're not quite as responsive as we were when we were younger and we can't heal as quickly. So make sure you respect that aging process, which we all begrudgingly have to deal with at times. And so scenario number two was I was sedentary during COVID, because everything was closed, but now everything's open again. And I would say the same principles apply. So it's really the same scenario as scenario number one. It's just a little flipped. But the bottom line is you have a period of resting, and now all of a sudden you have to, go back into your physical activities. Again, ease your way back into the normal activities. Don't try to resume your same level of activity or competition. So if before, COVID, you were playing 3 tennis matches every weekend and you didn't do that for months, maybe just start with 1 tennis match or go out and hit balls for an hour before you get back into playing matches. So again, it's the same principles, but the use it or lose it principle really does apply here. If you don't use it, your body does tend to lose it. And so because of that, what I tell patients is in general, you will need about half the amount of time that you were off to regain your previous level. So if you took a month off from, golfing or tennis or jogging or, Zumba, whatever it may be, you probably need at least 2 weeks to regain that form. So, so that's kind of a rule of thumb that I tell patients they can use, and kind of a rule of thumb to plan out, okay, when am I going to be back to doing, my 18 holes of golf? Okay, well, if I took 2 months off, it might take me a month to really feel like I can play 18 holes and not be paying for it too much the next day. When should I get my achy joint checked out? So this kind of goes hand in hand again with, with kind of differentiating between soreness and pain. The simple answer is I tell patients or tell friends or tell family members, anytime that your joint is painful enough to keep you from doing what you want to do, or it's negatively affecting your quality of life, then it's certainly reasonable to get your achy joint checked out. I tell people you don't have to be a hero. You don't get any artificial brownie points for toughing it out, and you don't get any toughness points for enduring pain in your body without having it checked out. So don't be afraid to see a professional to get an opinion on where your joints may be at from an arthritis standpoint or just from a muscle standpoint. Symptoms that should prompt maybe a more prompt orthopedic evaluation. So certainly if you have a traumatic injury, if you feel a pop, if you experience a tear, or if you were doing fine and then you had a traumatic moment, you had a fall, you fell off your bike, and now you have new onset pain, bruising, dysfunction, weakness, certainly reasonable, a reasonable reason to get a orthopedic evaluation. Loss of function, so if you had an injury and now you can't move your arm, you can't bend your leg as well, then certainly that's a reason to be seen by a physician. Pain that keeps you up at night is usually a good indication that something more is going on than just a normal ache and pain. And pain during activity. So a lot of people will say, well, as I do activity, my pain gets better. And I say, that's fine. You know, just make sure you take a good warm up and do your activities. But if you're having pain while you're doing the activity, especially new pain during an activity that doesn't go away, that's often a good reason to seek further evaluation. And also mechanical symptoms. So if you say your knee or your shoulder is buckling, catching, locking, certainly a good reason to see a physician. Any questions or anything before I keep progressing? I don't want to just blaze through this if there's any burning questions or
You're doing great. What I was going to say to anybody on the call, if you have a question, type it in the chat. So if you look on your screen, the chat's usually down on the bottom. Sometimes it's on the top, but you can type a question into chat and we'll try to make sure that we cover them during the call. One of the common questions that I think people ask, and it's coming up pretty quickly here, Dr. Carr, is there any pillow or sleep thing that you found helps, you know, when people are trying to sleep better? Is there something that you might recommend that they use?
That's a great question. So a couple things. So again, having low back or lumbar support can be very helpful. So they make various body pillows. Whether it's like a longitudinal one that people find that it kind of keeps them from rolling over into a bad position, maintaining a neutral spine when you're sleeping, so making sure that your head isn't sunk down and your body's up here or vice versa, can be very helpful. My wife is almost 7 months pregnant now, and she's found it's like a big U-shaped body pillow is very helpful, so she can kind of put one side between her legs and have the other part supporting her low back. So I jokingly call it like the Stromboli pillow because she looks like a Stromboli when she's like wrapped up in it. So anything like that can be very helpful. I like food, so a lot of my analogies relate to food, but I think those are all very good. And also just making sure, you know, getting something like a mattress topper can be a very good way to kind of add support to your back and kind of make sure you've kind of normalized the level of your spine while you're sleeping.
That's great. Thank you.
Absolutely. And are y'all, I should have asked this earlier, are y'all able to see my face and everything on my camera screen? Is everything good there?
Yep. It'll be smaller for everybody, but yes, it's all good.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay. Well, good. Well, that was a good transition, Lisa. So, you know, really, how do I sleep better now? So there's a couple things that I think you can do to help with that. Number one would be just create a regular routine and stick with it. You know, try to establish a normal bedtime or at least a normal range and stick with it and have that regular routine. Whether it's reading, having some tea, watching TV, whatever it may be, just have something that kind of signals to your body that you're winding down for the day. Don't bring work into the bedroom. So it's really hard with cell phones, especially smartphones, you know, to get one last check of the email or one last check of, you know, whatever it may be, but really just try to, you know, just let it be. Don't bring the work into the bedroom. Don't take naps after 3 p.m. That's also another good tidbit. Just, you know, if you're tired in the afternoon, just tough it out. Wait till you get to the night, and then it'll help you sleep better at night. Stay away from caffeine or even too much alcohol late in the day. So a lot of people, especially around the holidays, may find that they don't sleep as well. And a lot of times it's related to increased alcohol intake. So alcohol does impact your ability to sleep at times. And it can also make your sleep lighter at night. So you won't feel like you get as deep of sleep if you drink a lot before bedtime. Oops, sorry. So that is something to consider as well. I'm not saying don't, you know, enjoy your holiday cocktails. I'm just saying be mindful of the timing of that, as that can impact your sleep. Getting regular exercise is also great. Helps you become tired at night and can help there. And try to go to bed and wake up at the same time. So again, establishing that routine and sticking with it. And then I tell patients really, you know, talk with your doctor if you continue to have trouble. There's different supplements or even medications or other adjustments that we can make if you do have any issues with your sleep. So again, there's no shame if you need to see a doctor in helping you sleep better. It's very important to our overall health. Good sleep has a lot of benefits: mental health, you know, better, you know, kind of hormone balance and, you know, chemical balance in our brain. That helps you feel well rested, so you have the energy to do all the physical stuff you want to do and stay mentally sharp throughout the day. So it is important. And I tell patients, don't stress so much about the amount of sleep. as much as just the quality of sleep. So, you know, I'm kind of weird in that I can get 5 or 6 hours and feel pretty good. Some people need more like 7, 8, or 9. So whatever it is for you that helps you feel re-energized, stick with it and go for it.
Dr. Carr, isn't it the brain wave that we're trying to reach that is the healing wave? Isn't that
Yes.
the reason why sleep is so critical?
Yes.
The theta, which one is it?
Yeah, so part of the theta is part of it as well, and then what's called REM, or rapid eye movement sleep. That's the really deep sleep where we dream during REM sleep, and it's been shown that during those deeper levels of sleep, the body is that's really where it does its repairing and healing from the day, whether it's in our body, in our tendons, or even just kind of resetting the neurotransmitters in our brain. So it does kind of help reset the clock, if you will, and augment the healing process. So one thing that we talk a lot about with our, especially professional athletes, is just the importance of sleep. And so like I work with the New York Mets, and every spring training, they'll bring in a sleep therapist, sleep counselor to really talk with the players about how to maintain good sleep, because they understand the importance of having a refreshed body and kind of using that as a powerful tool to counteract the breakdown of our body that occurs during the day and building us back up. And so here's kind of the big, some of the big things that people really want to know, and kind of the meat and potatoes of the talk, if you will. And that's really, how do we optimize our joint health for the future? So again, you know, I see a lot of patients that they've either recently retired or they've been retired, and they tell me, you know, doc, now's my time to, you know, to be an athlete again. I finally have this time. I worked hard my whole life, and now I get to go and play tennis all day, or golf, or bike, or whatever the case may be for them. And it's great. I get to be an athlete. And then I kind of asked them, well, what happened between, like, you know, age 30 and 60? And I didn't really do much. And you know, it can set them up for a harder process of being able to do the stuff they want to do when they have the time to do it. So just like we should kind of plan for retirement and plan for all those things very early on in our lives, we certainly should plan for our physical health as well. And really the best thing you can do is just stay active throughout your life. And so I tell patients, you know, don't wait until you become 60 or 70 to start being active, to start picking up a physical hobby, or to start picking up a sport. You know, try to carve out some time, whether it's with your family or just as a group, or some kind of hobby where you can at least stay active. You know, go for walks with your family, with your spouse, with whoever, with your friends, just so that your body can stay active and used to working out. Keep it low impact and really cross train. So I see a lot of athletes who are runners or cyclists, and that's great. But they get very one-dimensional, and some of these exercises can be very high impact. And so I'll tell patients, even if you don't like it, it's good for your body, at least once or twice a day, cross train, you know, do swimming, find a different sport, find a different fitness class that's a little easier on your body, yoga, Pilates, whatever the case may be. Stretching is very important. I'm probably, I feel a little hypocritical, you know, with this point, because I am not great at stretching myself. My wife is constantly harking on me, because she's a personal trainer, and is always getting on me about needing to stretch more. And one thing that she recommends, and that I've found actually very helpful, is to consider a mobility day. So taking a day where you say, okay, I'm just going to work on foam rolling and stretching, or yoga and other mobility type exercises. So that can be very helpful to incorporate on your day off. You can even incorporate it a little bit in your office space as well. You know, just when you take that 5 or 10 minute break, doing some stretches, you know, stretching out your low back, your hamstrings, just kind of keeping that as part of your routine. Eating right is very important. Having a well-balanced diet is obviously very essential. Some patients will tell me, well, I don't feel like I can maintain a healthy weight because I can't exercise as much until I get my knee fixed or my shoulder fixed. And I'll tell them eating is really the other half of it. So I have patients that'll lose 5, 10, 15, 20 pounds just from changing their diet and eating healthier. So that's something to consider as well. And really losing any extra pounds that we may have. And so I tell patients that our research shows that every pound of body weight that we lose is like 3 to 5 pounds of weight off of your knees. And so even just losing 5 pounds can be the equivalent of losing, 15 or 20 pounds off of your knees. So it can have drastic impact on the overall health of your knees. So if you're carrying around any extra weight that you want to, shed, then staying active and having that good diet can be helpful. There's also dietitians and other people that can kind of help tailor a weight loss plan if that's something that is of interest to you. Being ergonomic, like we talked about, is also very helpful, just minimizing the strain on your body. And really kind of looping the whole thing in is just don't be a weekend warrior. Try to stay active during the week, go for walks in the evening, go for jogs, find a fitness class that you enjoy, find some time at the gym. Just don't limit yourself to only being a weekend warrior. That does set you up for a higher risk of injury. And so there really is something to that regular exercise. And then again, just not waiting for retirement to be active again. So just like you don't want to wait until you're right about ready to retire to really start saving for retirement, you don't want to wait until you're ready to retire to all of a sudden start trying to get your body used to moving again. Tips for staying healthy during COVID. So these are some tips. It was a little more applicable maybe at the beginning of COVID, but still very applicable today as we're still find ourselves in the middle of this pandemic, or at least hopefully maybe the back end of it. We'll see. I tell patients, find a nice place to walk. Make sure you have good walking shoes. So if you are going to take up jogging, walking, running, and you haven't really done that before, make sure you invest in a good pair of walking shoes. There's a lot of good running stores and other, walking stores that have experts there that can really look at your feet, look how they're shaped and how your arches are, and recommend some good shoes for you. Considering online fitness classes, I know we're all kind of getting Zoom fatigue and online class fatigue, but it is an option. A lot of the gyms are starting to open up again and whatnot, so that may be another option. Consider working out in another area of fitness that you've maybe always neglected. So I've told patients or family and friends, this is a time to say, okay, if I really would, if I was big on working out or doing a Zumba class, well, now I can work on yoga or maybe I never really jogged or walked, but I really want to, and now's the time to kind of focus on something else. So it can really help you become more holistic in your health and kind of more holistic in your training regimen. So finding other areas of your fitness to work on can be helpful. You can also wear like an athletic face mask if you do choose to go to the gym. And really try going to the gym during the off hours, maybe earlier in the morning, later in the evening, maybe avoiding some of that peak time just to kind of avoid being around as many people. That's one thing you can also consider. And really just be extra mindful of your diet, especially if you aren't burning as many calories. So I know there's a lot of memes and other stuff on social media going out there about like the COVID 15 or the COVID 10, kind of like the freshman 15 in college of, people gaining weight during the pandemic. And a lot of it just has to do with we're not being as active. We're still eating the same, if not more, now that the holidays are here. So just being mindful of your diet and making sure that if you're not burning as many calories, you don't need to consume as many calories. So that is something to consider as well. Lisa, before we talk about some of the services we have at Hospital for Special Surgery, any comments or questions or things about that? I know you have some good insight there as well from kind of your routines and everything.
I think that one of the things that you mentioned is the yoga and the flexibility and how your wife recommends that too. And it's the kind of thing that I do tennis, I do yoga. I no longer do quite so physical as much as soccer, but also, like you said, stretching, days where there's mobility. And there's a lot of content online, including HSS has some content online, right? There are
yes.
a lot of places that show you, what should the rotation be of that. And if you can't achieve that, then just spend the day, like you said, sort of making sure, well, how much can I rotate this arm? And each day, what I've found that's really surprising is how quickly your flexibility comes back if you work on it. So I remember I started doing back bends again because I used to be able to do back bends, and of course now that thought seems terrible, like I'm going to try to kill myself on the floor. But even just standing next to your bed and starting to tip your head back, it's funny how within like 3 days I was really getting my spine to be much more flexible. I had been losing flexibility. So I think the idea of consistently overlapping, like you said, various different kinds of physical activity really does increase our mobility, and it kind of lubricates the joint, doesn't it?
It does. So a lot of my patients will say, well, once I get going, my joints feel better. And that's just because your body does respond by lubricating your joints a little bit as we're working out and stretching and having that warm up. So As we age, our tendons and our muscles want to shrink down and get tighter. And so it becomes doubly important that we maintain that flexibility, like you mentioned, because that tightness sets us up for injuries, it sets us up for arthritis, and stretching and maintaining that range of motion is a powerful tool to combat that.
So what I was saying, and then you can go to your next slide on the facility, but out on YouTube as well, there's a lot of content that HSS actually has out there about how to improve your balance, how to, check to see if your joint's in good shape, so that's another place where people can go and kind of find content that you all have put out there.
Absolutely. So just real briefly, Lisa wanted me to mention just some of the services we offer at Hospital for Special Surgery, Florida. So a lot of people say, well, what does that mean, like Hospital for Special Surgery or HSS, like what is it? And so it's basically a orthopedic only or musculoskeletal health only hospital. It's based out of New York City. And so that's where it was founded in the 1800s. And so it's the oldest orthopedic surgery hospital or dedicated orthopedic surgery hospital in the U.S. For whatever reason, the Hospital for Special Surgery is the name they, settled on in the 1900s, and that's what it's been ever since. And so there's nothing, people say, well, what's special surgery? Well, it's just what they call it. So we do orthopedic surgery or orthopedic care at our facility. And so we are kind of the first offshoot of HSS outside of the Northeast tri-state area, so outside of the New York, Connecticut, New Jersey area. So we're here in West Palm Beach, Florida. We're down on Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard. And we opened in January, which was interesting timing with COVID, unbeknownst to us, lurking right around the corner. So, things are going a little more smoothly now, but it was definitely interesting at the beginning of the year. I don't recommend starting any kind of business or anything right at the beginning of COVID, but it is what it is. So these are just some of the pictures from our facility. So this is the first floor reception area. So this is where you see when you walk in, this is where you register. And, really kind of, we basically want to establish ourselves as like a one-stop shop for orthopedic care and musculoskeletal care. And so I kind of jokingly will tell people it's kind of like a spa for your orthopedic needs. Second floor is where we have our physical therapy and sports performance area. And so this is where, a lot of what we do revolves around physical therapy. So a lot of people will say, well, you're a surgeon. Like if I see you, you're going to want to do surgery on me. And I say, I'd love to do surgery. It's what I do. I'm weird in that way, in that I like to, cut people and do surgery. But the vast majority of what I see and the patients that I see do not need surgery. And if we can do something without surgery, it's even better. So, surgery is really the last option and one of the tools in my toolbox, so to speak. And it's the last one that I pull out of my toolbox. So there's a lot of things short of surgery, whether it's physical therapy, injections or other things that we can do that oftentimes provide patients the relief they need to do the stuff they want to do. So don't be afraid to see a surgeon per se, just because of the title.
The thing I would say too, when you're showing the gym and everything too, is to remember, being an athlete, I really respect how much you work with athletes. And it was really interesting when I visited the facility because they have a private elevator and entrance for their very famous athletes that are here in the county. And so they've got a whole room, another room that he's showing beyond this one that's just where they actually digitally can film you and see how your motion is, see if you're walking wrong, see if you're if you practice your tennis stroke or whatever, they can actually videotape that. So it isn't just like a surgical center. It is a wellness center, as he said, a spa for your physical health with a lot of intermediary things that you can do, including they have PPR injections that you can actually see where it's being injected. So I've seen people go to doctors where they're just kind of poking randomly. They actually have a machine that helps them see inside the joint so that they're kind of getting it exactly where the tear is. So they're very high tech, very new, and the facility is fascinating. And because it works with athletes so much, that's one of the things that I really respect, because I don't want to go have surgery and then be limited in what I can do. I want to get healthy again. So it is a very different approach, and I really think that they're doing it at HSS, and I think Dr. Carr, you're just a good guy to work with. I'm looking forward to having you in my future.
Well, thank you. Absolutely. Hopefully more socially than professionally. Hopefully you stay
Right.
healthy. So, I appreciate that, Lisa, and you really kind of said it better than I could. So I appreciate that for sure. And that's true. I work with all different types of athletes. So high school athletes, middle school athletes, college athletes, professional athletes, weekend warriors, and then what I like to call my retired warriors, which honestly tend to be at times my most challenging patients and really my most rewarding patients, because their bodies have more wear and tear on them, but they're still doing amazing things. So keeping them active and doing the things they want to do and increasing their quality of life is very rewarding for me. So whether it's getting you back onto the recreational field, professional field, or just back to doing what you want to do with your family, it's all important, and it means the same. And so to each patient, what they want to do is the most important thing to them. And so it's the most important thing to me to get you back to doing that, so whatever that may be. And so, so this is our physical therapy gym. These are just some pictures of it. We have more equipment than just what's shown, but that's just kind of gives you a glimpse of it. These are some of the tables that we have for our therapists to work with you and to stretch, and they do a bunch of other things. This is our aqua therapy room. So this is a great tool that we have for people when they're rehabbing. It allows them to work on certain motions and things. And a lot of times you can work in the pool before you can work on the ground if you're recovering from surgery. So it's a very beneficial thing for us to have. We do have that room as well. I don't have pictures in it, but like Lisa mentioned, like a sports performance room, and we have technology where we can essentially do motion tracking of your body without having to put all the little like the reflective balls on you that you see like for the video games. We can just, our computer system does it all just on its own, so you don't need any special equipment. You can just
it's a room to never do anything wrong in, because there's like 20 cameras on the walls. They're in every direction.
Exactly. We're always watching you. But yeah, so that's down there as well, on that floor. This is the third floor. So these are the physician offices and our clinical exam room. So this is our, when you come off the elevator, this is what you see on the left, and then this is our lobby here on the right. These are our clinical spaces. So we have a couple different nursing stations where we're able to, kind of organize everything. Then we have exam rooms. You can see kind of all along the walls here on both sides. This on the right is just a typical clinical exam room. They're pretty spacious, so it allows us to really examine you and have space to do so. You won't feel cramped up or like you're limited in space there. So that's beneficial. This is our x-ray suite. So another exam room on the left, and then this is one of our x-ray suites here on the right. We have two of them, and then at some point we'll be building out a third one. So, so when you come, you can get your x-rays. It's literally just on the other side of the wall of the exam room here on the left. So patients will come, they can get their x-rays. I can look at them right away. We can go over them together, so we can start getting a lot of answers of what may or may not be going on just off of the x-rays that we get here at our facility. We also do have an MRI machine at our facility, so we're able to do that as well. Obviously, that takes authorization through the insurance company and et cetera. So, so we just work through that process and can set you up with that if needed as well. And then this is our surgery center. So it's on the fourth floor. So the benefits of our surgery center is, as a sports surgeon, a lot of what I do is minimally invasive. It's done arthroscopically, which means I use the camera. So it's done through little poke holes around the joint. And so the good thing is that oftentimes patients can go home the same day. And so when that's the case, we can do the surgery upstairs in our surgery center. The benefits is that it's not a hospital setting. It's very clean. Everyone's tested for COVID prior to surgery. So we make sure we're keeping it COVID-free, free of any kind of infections or anything like that. So it's a very safe, very clean atmosphere to have your surgery performed at. And then this is our kind of recovery room area and preoperative room as well. So that's where the magic happens, so to speak. Actually, this is where the magic happens. These are our operating rooms upstairs. And so, basically this picture on the right shows one of our operating rooms. You can see the camera setups that we have. So everything's state of the art, and it's set up for us to do everything that we need to do in there. So they're huge rooms. They're probably 2 times bigger than most of the ORs that I've ever worked in. So we have a ton of space, and it makes for a great atmosphere to work in. And so with that, I mean, that's really the bulk of my talk. And, I really appreciate y'all having me. And I put my email address and office number here as well. If there's ever anything I can do, don't feel, afraid to reach out with any questions. I'm happy to help you out. Email's usually a pretty easy way to get in touch with me. And but I try not to check it at night when I'm about to lie in bed to, try to abide by the advice I gave. But it is a good way to get a hold of me if there's any questions or any way that I can be of assistance.
That's awesome. I really appreciate you doing this. And Gary or Jessica, do you have any client questions that they emailed to you or that that people had or you have personally for Dr. Carr?
We didn't get any yet, but I'm sure we'll probably get a few follow-up and we can kind of refer them to Dr. Carr. But I just want to thank you, Dr. Carr, for taking the time out of your day. And Lisa, thank you so much for setting this up and having the relationship we have with Mariner Wealth. We truly appreciate it. And I know it's kind of the busy season with everything right now, but I would love to probably do something like this in the spring again when maybe the birds start chirping and things are a little bit different, maybe in this the state of mind that we're in with the COVID and stuff going on. But thank you both very much for everything. We really appreciate your partnership.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's an honor to be here and to help out, and appreciate y'all having me.
One of the questions that you might be able to answer if we're waiting to see if anybody else adds in is why do the surgery there? I mean, I can see why. And I know because the machines are actually better than at the hospital, et cetera. But, talk to us about your facility, why you would recommend doing the surgery at your facility as opposed to doing it at the hospital across the street.
Sure. It's a very good question. I'll preface it by saying I'm a very poor salesman. There's a reason why I did not go into sales. So, I always struggle with promoting things or talking about things. But I would say just from a matter of fact standpoint, we do have a great team here. I love the team that I work with. They're very efficient. It's a very efficient way to come in and go home the same day. We have amazing anesthesiologists who do amazing nerve blocks and other things that help with the pain so that patients can go home and have minimal pain when they're there. Again, I think the biggest thing, especially now, is that it's a very clean facility. And so we're not doing any infected cases there. Everyone gets tested for COVID. So, a lot of patients will ask me, well, if I get my surgery done in a hospital, will there be COVID patients in the hospital? And the answer is most likely yes, at least for now, during this pandemic. But at the surgery center, that's not the case at all. So, that is a very, I think one of the biggest draws for now. But even in a non-COVID standpoint, I think getting your surgery done at a surgery center, especially one like us, where it's state-of-the-art, minimally invasive surgery, come in and go home the same day. It's a very safe, very effective way to do it. A lot of the surgeries that I do, we don't even have to put you all the way under general anesthesia, so you don't even need a breathing tube. You're asleep and you don't remember any of it, but you're still breathing on your own. And so it's a very safe way to do the surgery.
Yeah, it's definitely, the other thing too that one of your staff bragged about is that your MRI machine is better than the hospital because it's newer and it's clearer. Is that right?
It is. And we at HSS also have special protocols that we do to make sure that we have really amazing resolution and amazing quality. So I tend to get a little spoiled by how good our MRIs are, but at the same time, it helps us make better diagnosis because, sometimes you get an MRI, it doesn't really show you what you need, and you're kind of hemming and hawing of, well, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. But when we get our MRIs here, there's really no hemming or hawing. It's we can see it, we can make a decision, and we can go off of that.
Yeah, and as a patient, the MRIs are expensive, and so I would rather you look at what you want to look at as opposed to somebody else send you an MRI that may or may not show you what you're looking for.
Absolutely, I agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any other questions out there? Okay. I really appreciate it, Dr. Carr. I'm sure that if we have any other questions, we'll send them later. If we get a recording of this call, then we probably will send that out and make that available.
Perfect.
So
Sounds great.
people who couldn't attend, you can send that on to them, Jessica and Gary. And again, one of the things that I really like about Dr. Carr, maybe it's because you're young and you don't have your family yet, but he makes himself available. He's got his phone number up there.
That's
And
right, yes.
that's really terrific in terms of being available and being willing to answer questions. And really appreciate that. Appreciate you being here. And I look forward to doing this again with you in 2021, maybe when we all can actually gather and have dinner while we do it.
That'd be great. That it sounds like or it feels like an eon ago of when we could do that, but that would be great to do. I would very much look forward to it.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And I look forward to talking with you all again soon.